From the creators of Relevant Magazine, this is the Relevant Podcast.
Baby, you're all that help. Making me baby, making me baby, making me baby, taking me baby, you're all that help. Making me baby, making me
Oh, it's Friday, January 24th. The year is 2020. You're listening to the Relevant Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Huckabee. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, down there in Orlando, Florida, with his eye on the prize, making sure that we don't run off into a ditch. It's our illustrious producer, Chandler Strang.
Hello.
And meanwhile, up there in Loveland, Virginia, trying to get us off to a ditch at every opportunity, it's our friend Jessica Carey.
Hello.
And joining us once again on the Relevant Podcast, we're always pleased to welcome back our friend. And I don't even know where you're calling us from. I didn't get a chance to ask ahead of time because you can be all over the world. But it is our friend. Anywhere is home to him, John Mark McMillan.
Yes, hello. I'm in Charlotte. I'm at home in Charlotte right now. So
you're at home today. Okay, that's good. Do you have any? You're probably staring down the barrel of a tour somewhat soon here, right?
The tour starts actually in April, so I've got a little bit of time. But we just finished the record, and normally I don't finish a record on time, so I have some time to kind of promote it and try and figure out, how I'm going to get people to hear the songs and sell tickets to the tour and all that kind of fun stuff. So I might work on some new music too.
Oh, nice. Well, for people that you announced, I believe you announced on this very podcast, it's been in several weeks now, maybe a month or so, that the album Peopled with the past tense, Peopled with Dreams, drops on Valentine's Day on February 14th. And you recently, since we last spoke, released a new single. Chandler, let's play a clip of the latest. John Mark, Pilgrim is the latest single, right?
Yep, it is.
Chandler, let's fire up a clip of Pilgrim.
I'm a pilgrim here on the side of the great divide. I'm a pilgrim here, but I'll walk with you for a while.
Also on the show today, we have this is going to be good. The director of The Two Popes, Fernando Meirelles, is joining us. That movie got nominated for thrice Academy Award nominated film, Two Popes. The director is joining us to talk a little bit about that movie.
Now, John Mark, I got a question for you, because when and I understand you told us the intentionality of releasing on Valentine's Day, and I think it's a very cool thing. But I do have a question. Your wife Sarah, did she have any issues with you releasing an album on Valentine's Day? Because I mean, it seems like most couples have the expectation, all right, date night, we're going out, but this is album release night. So how's this going to shake out? I can already see the tension brewing here.
Well, I think because we have 3 kids, it's hard to get a babysitter on Valentine's evening.
Sure.
Yeah.
So normally we don't do anything super special on Valentine's. And it's one of those holidays where like the day is normal. You know what I mean? You might do something in the evening. So I normally check out, by 5-6 o'clock anyway. So it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. So
So I'm old. That's the.
But you will do some sort of. There will be a card or some sort of. You don't need to give away. I mean, if it's a surprise,
there will be romance.
Oh, okay,
definitely.
That's all I was checking.
All right, I do. Okay, I'm glad we're on the topic because for the Valentine's Day candy conversation, I feel like let's just have this right now, because I feel like there are 2 lines of thought in this. And one is, and everyone wrestles with this every year. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the only one who's like actually conflicted about this. But it's like, do I go with the heart candy box because that's just what people do? Like it's the tradition, even though that, probably half are probably gross and not a candy you would eat otherwise. Like, if it wasn't part of an assortment, I would not eat a piece of dark chocolate filled with some sort of minty paste. It's just not going to happen. I would never choose that. But it's part of the box. It's part of the deal. You get a half gross ones. Or do you do the thing where you just get the heart box filled with like those Ghirardelli squares so you know you're going to like every one? But it doesn't really feel like Valentine's Day. It kind of feels like a cheat code. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I run into this dilemma every year.
It's a tough one. John Mark, I'll let you go first. I feel
you seem like a master of romance.
You seem like a romantic guy, and I want to know what you think because I don't know the answer.
Totally. No, I kind of get it. Like the heart box, and it's really expensive too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I usually try and go with something else. I don't know, maybe a specialty shop, you know, where you can sort of hand pick the candy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and honestly, we're more at the like quality is better than quantity kind of stage. So I'll go to like the chocolate store at the mall and hand pick like 4 items.
Oh wow.
Hand wrap it.
Is Charlotte overrun with fine
chocolatiers
with fine chocolatiers and confectioners? Because I don't know if that's an option for all of our listeners.
It's not overrun, but you can find it if you look for it. There's a couple of bakeries in town too. You can do something special if you look for it. Yeah.
Well, I always get intimidated at any of those, at any kind of like artisan shop like that's selling candy or anything. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I'm just more comfortable at like a Walgreens because I go into any of these and I feel like, and this isn't to disparage any artisan, you know, candy or candy makers or bakers or whatever. I have tremendous amount of respect for the craft, but half the time I feel like I'm in an episode of Portlandia. Like I just can't take it all that seriously. Like someone who's like dedicated their adult life to, I mean, listen, I've dedicated my adult life to rambling on this podcast about most of the time, literally God knows what. Like I've shot any chance of ever wanting to do, like it's never an option to run for public office or anything at this point. There's hundreds of hours of me saying ridiculous things, but when I'm in there, I'm like, most of your adult life was spent crafting artisan pickles. I can't relate. I cannot relate. I don't mind it, but you know.
I think the craft thing has gotten a little bit out of hand in the recent years. You know, like I draw the line at craft ketchup. Like there's this brewery in town. They make, well, you know, there's a brewery because there's breweries everywhere. They make great burgers. Yeah. Right. But I just want regular ketchup. Like I don't want homemade ketchup. Like in my mind, ketchup is Heinz, right? Yeah. And everything else is just a sauce. And Malcolm Gladwell did a whole profile on ketchup a few years ago, you know, and he talked to like professional like tasters and the people who work in the food industry, you know, and the reason like craft ketchups, like you go to the store and you can only basically get like one ketchup or maybe like sugar-free or unsalted or something, right? That's it.
Whatever.
There's a bazillion mustards. It's because scientifically Heinz ketchup is perfect. It's the perfect palate. So anything you do to it makes it a sauce. Yeah. And some places won't hear that. They bring out their stupid craft ketchup. I'm like, fine, call it barbecue sauce. I was like, but it's not ketchup. Yeah. You know, I do think there are some things are perfect and they don't need to be fixed.
So if you see, you know, if you're in a burger place and you see something like our handcrafted local tomato aioli, you're like, you're not interested in that.
Well, that might have mayonnaise in it, and I like anything with mayonnaise.
Okay, I see.
But if it's like, no, as long as you don't call it ketchup, if you try to call it ketchup and you say it's house-made, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. House-made ketchup is sauce. Just call it sauce.
Just call it, gross second-rate tomato sauce. It's dollar store. It's like dollar store detergent. Something's just off. Something's off. These smell clean. These smell clean, but something's off about them. Like,
my point is you can overcraft things. Things can be overcrafted.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, and that's my excuse for never attempting a DIY project, because I'm like, listen, yes, I could tile the backsplash. Like I could watch a YouTube video and I could take all the time and do my own fancy designs. But what makes me think I'm going to do it better than this guy I hired on Craigslist, this unlicensed contractor who I'm paying $30 an hour to do it? Like DIY people, I'm like, what makes you you think you're better at this project at your home than someone who does this all day long? I'm with you. Like the DIY, like the artisan, I respect it, but I want no part of it myself. Like I'm under no delusions here.
I think the correction has kind of begun. I feel like there's been, because I think it was like peak 2013 or 14 when it was maybe peak. You couldn't buy anything. You couldn't buy a dog collar without having somebody with a fancy mustache. And it looked like they'd walked out of the set of Gangs of New York selling it to you, saying they'd made, that he'd made it, that it took him 2 years to put it together, each piece at a time. And I think the swing back has already begun. And by the time that Zoomers become a purchasing demographic, it's going to be back to like Walmart and Target is where it's all going to. I think society just goes.
And I got no beef with that. It's efficient. It's easy. Like I went over one day to a neighbor's house to borrow a piece of lawn equipment or something, and I go into their garage and they have those big white like 20-gallon buckets, right? You know the kind I'm talking about. Yeah. The ones that always have a warning on the side about not to put babies in them. It's like which is the most odd warning ever. Like who bought the bucket and be like, well, this would be great for transporting the baby, and they're like, oh, what's this? It explicitly says not to put babies in here. Like why was babies in a bucket something that even needed to be addressed on every bucket that's ever made? Like why not other like just odd warnings of things not to do with the bucket? They seem very, very intent to make sure that if you purchase those white buckets, you're not putting babies in there. But anyway, he's got a garage filled with them, and he's got like tubes and stuff and timers and all this stuff. I'm like, what is going on in here? It's like Walt White's garage. And he was getting into craft brewing. And I'm like, this looks like an insane amount of work, especially like you've got these buckets and hoses going everywhere. What makes you think that you can do it better than someone who does it professionally and is using actual equipment, not buckets? Like the craft brewing thing too. It's like, what gives people the nerve to think that they can do it better than someone who makes it professionally?
I know. I have this theory that breweries are like coffee shops were in the 90s. How in the 90s, like everyone had a coffee shop. They were everywhere, and now there's like Starbucks and then maybe your local like third wave thing. Yeah. But not like it was in the 90s. Like every person had a coffee shop, and now it's like breweries. There's a brewery on every corner. There's not, and I always see new breweries coming in. I'm like, how can this city support so many breweries?
If it hasn't already, I think it's already on the decline. I think we're going to I think the brewery / craft cocktail thing has already reached its maximum capacity. And now it's going to be something. I don't know what the next thing is going to be. I'm trying to figure it out. What's going to be the next wave of I don't know, beverage, probably beverage. It isn't, not necessarily, but I feel like it's probably going to be some sort of other drink situation, like fancy sodas or something. I don't know what it's gonna. If I knew, I'd be doing it. I wouldn't be here podcasting.
Yeah, I'd be. I've already lost a fortune on the flavored vape wave. So last thing I need is to dive headfirst in another one of these trends. I got the FDA shutting down my jam.
Well,
I got buckets of cotton candy jelly bean juice in the garage. If anyone's looking at it, it's unmovable right now.
We got a lot to get to today. We're gonna take a quick break before we do. When we come back, doing the hot list.
She didn't ask, she just opened a cold can and set it down in front of me. I said thanks and thought about how Judy used to come here with me. But I got so tired of her calling this our disease. 'Cause I'm just fine. Sometimes I need to clear my mind, how there can be.
You're listening to Neon Skyline by Andy Schaff. At the beginning of the podcast, you heard Baby by Four Tet. Maybe some sort of artisanal baby play, like not, they don't make the babies artisanally, but you know what I mean? The like stuff for babies.
Artisanal baby buckets. Like a bucket you can actually comfortably transport a baby in. I've never understood that. Who is this warning for? Who's putting the baby?
There's a story. That's the thing. You don't want to know, because if you see a warning there, that means it was a result of the lawsuit, and there is a story.
Right.
There is a story.
If you see a sign, that means it's happened once. At least once. If you see a sign, that means somebody's done it once.
Some sort of class action lawsuit. And the result was we have to put this picture on every single thing we make, saying
on every single bucket. Yeah. This one guy showed up to the nursery. He's like, here's the baby, just dumped him right out. And that was it for everybody. Now all buckets have this morbid warning. Yeah.
All right. It's time for our weekly look back at our favorite stories at the intersection of faith and culture of the week. It's time for
It's the hot list. It's sizzling.
number 5 this week of Monsters and Men. Reinvented Post Malone's Circles with a very emo-inspired cover. This is a blast from the past across the board here. So, indie rock outfit, you remember these guys of Monsters and Men. They recently performed for the YouTube series Like a Version, which where bands come in and cover other songs. Like most great covers, this version of Circles reimagines the song entirely, turning Post's pop vibes into an old-school emo-inspired heartbreaker. Here is a clip.
Seasons change and I lower the cold. Feed the flames 'cause you can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away. I tell you to do something. I'm waiting on you. I get so I take the plane. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away.
I was thinking about this a little bit. Speaking of the emo genre, and we have Jesse. You were knee deep in the emo world back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And Jean-Marc, I don't know. Was emo ever your scene? Were you a scenester?
I was a bit of a scenester. Yeah, a little bit of
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think is like this generation's dashboard confessional type? Is it Post?
Post, I don't know, Billie Eilish.
Billie feels
pretty emo.
like she's huge, but she is of that. But she's not like Taylor Swift.
No. She reminds me so much of like, at least the videos and things. She looks so sad and angry all the time. It's like, this is pretty dang emo.
Well,
but it's definitely not real.
Handbasket, man.
Well, it is when you're that age. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah, everything's a huge deal.
Everything's a big deal. I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, Jean-Marc, let me ask you, I have a question for you too about philosophy when it comes to covers.
All right.
Like this cover is of Monsters Men doing a totally different kind of take on the Post song, which, by the way, I feel like a lot of I'm sort of a Post Malone apologist, because I know he's a polarizing artist, but I think a lot of his songs break down really nicely. Like just like the song is good, even if you don't like the style of it. But when it comes to covers, are you a fan of covers that totally reinvent a song, like almost to the point where it's unrecognizable? Or if you're doing a cover, do you try to keep it more of a straightforward like homage to the original?
I think you either need to do, I want to say maybe a better version, not better, but like, let's say like, if I'm going to cover Adele, I'm not going to try and out-sing Adele. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's say you're just an awesome singer. You don't want to like try to do someone's song who is so much better than you, unless you're going to go in the opposite direction, right? So I think if there's someone similar to you as an artist, you can cover them as an homage, but also that gets kind of expected. I really like the unexpected covers. Like when you cover someone nobody expected you to cover. I think that's more interesting.
It's such an art form to pull out. Like, wait, he covered her or something like that. It's I remember when I was at a White Stripes show. This was a long time ago. It was White Stripes. And they busted out a cover of Jolene by Dolly, and just nobody, it's just like it was so out of left field, but it was so good and so cool and so raw. And that's what I'm looking for, that energy from my covers. Like, where did they even see the possibility there? And then if you stick the landing, it's just cherry on the cake.
Exactly.
There's a cover from a few years ago. Jean-Marc, do you know Dustin Kintrew at all?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
He did a cover of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball.
And that's amazing. That's a perfect example.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you really realize when he sings it, and of course, people that know his music or know Thrice, he excels at that kind of like guttural, real kind of raw emotion when he wants to unleash it. And you realize what a powerful song that song is, even though it's sort of in that, when Miley does it, it's sort of in this pop package. I feel the same way about a lot of Post songs. They're wrapped in this, these kind of modern pop sensibilities. But when you get to the core, they're like, oh, this is actually just like a pretty good, emotional, angsty song. So that was a good cover from Monsters and Men.
I remember being, this was probably in college too. I was at a Dashboard show. Not Dashboard. I was not going to Dashboard shows in college. It's okay. I was at a
There's no shame, dude. There's no shame. Show. Don't act all judgy.
I was at a Death Cab show, more college, a slightly more college appropriate, a Death Cab show, and they busted out a cover of Avril Lavigne's "Complicated." And I think what they were trying to do was really noble, but nobody could take it seriously because it was just so out of left field. It was almost too successful a version of what we're talking about because it didn't.
I don't feel like that song lends itself to.
It did not work, but people were laughing the entire time. So it just wasn't. Maybe it was
I don't think that song has great bones. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Exactly.
You can change clothes, but that one's not like. It's not like Wrecking Ball. Which even the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, that's a great song.
Yeah, I
don't care what you say about the artist. That's a great song.
Right.
But the other one, Avril, and she's cool, but I don't think that
Avril.
song.
I don't want to sick the Avril hive on us or anything. We're not. It's just one song.
Jimmy World did. It wasn't that long ago, and I played it on like Conan or something. I guess it's been a few years, but it was their version of Taylor Swift's "We Will Never Get Back Together."
Oh yeah,
we will never. But the greatest thing about that is like it let Jimmy World do what Jimmy World does best, which is like into chorus with the whole band just hitting this massive drop D, like never ever getting back together. And it's just that like resonant, emo 90s guitar. You're like, okay, that song works. Because Taylor Swift is basically writing Dashboard Confessional songs, but singing them like Taylor Swift.
That's true. That's true. All right, coming in at number 4 this week, Aaron Rodgers opened up about his conflicted history with faith. So this was kind of interesting. The Green Bay Packers QB was recently on Danica Patrick's podcast. I didn't know Danica Patrick had a podcast, and he opened up about his ideas around religion. As he explains in the clip, Rodgers was once heavily involved in the Christian ministry, Young Life, but later started to question some fundamental teachings, including the idea of eternal punishment. Here's a clip.
Religion can be a crutch, can be something that people have to make themselves feel better. And because it's set up binary, it's us and them. It's saved and unsaved. It's heaven and hell. It's enlightened and heathen. It's holy and righteous and sinner and filthy. And I think that makes a lot of people feel better about themselves. Is that, I got Jesus and, I'm saved and I'm going to heaven and there's only 144,000 of us going, even though there's 7 billion people on the planet. And, I don't know how you can believe in a God who wants to condemn most of the planet, to a fiery hell. Like, what type of loving, sensitive, omnipresent, omnipotent being wants to condemn most of his beautiful creation to a fiery hell at the end of all this?
So a portion of that clip was shared by a Twitter account called The Caring Atheist. And from there, it ended up on the front page of Reddit. However, it's really not clear if Rodgers himself considers himself to be an atheist. In a 2017 ESPN, the magazine profile, he spoke about his friendship with Rob Bell and his evolving views on scripture. He said, and this is a quote here, "The Bible opens with a poem. It's a beautiful piece of work, but it was never meant to be interpreted as I think some churches do." Though he said he no longer considers himself a Christian, it's unclear if he's an atheist. And in the interview with Patrick, he talks about spirituality. Rob Bell, obviously, is a preacher, author, Bible teacher, and former megachurch pastor whose book Love Wins famously questioned traditional teachings on hell. Rodgers actually endorsed Rob's 2017 book, How to Be Here, saying, listing all the ways in which Rob has positively impacted my life would take up too much space. So I'll simply say that he's inspired me to live life with a deeper level of appreciation and to love people with greater awareness of our connectivity. So this was really interesting. And it is interesting to see how, and this happens a lot, I think, in social media conversations, any sort of questioning of traditional or even fundamentalist Christian teaching is immediately grouped in with heresy, or in this case, atheism.
Atheism, yeah. Well, and I kind of have a hot take on this one, because I watched the whole kind of conversation he had with Danica Patrick about religion. And, particularly some of his issues with Christian teachings about hell and salvation, and some of the, some of his, conflicted ideas about that. And, we're coming up where, this weekend's the Pro Bowl. Next weekend is the Super Bowl, of course. And, the week between the two is media week, right? And so the media gets a lot of access to the players who are playing in the Super Bowl. And one thing that's sort of become a tradition is for a lot of like faith-based outlets that get credentialed for the Super Bowl to go and do interviews with the athletes on both teams who are Christians and ask them about their faith. And I think, look, I think those testimonies are fantastic. I think it's great when people with a platform affirm their gratitude for the things that they've been given from God and talk openly about their faith. But I also think there's real value in conversations like this, simply because even if like some of the things Aaron Rodgers says here may rub Christians the wrong way, or not necessarily affirm traditional Orthodox views, I feel like it's good to show you can still express doubts. You can still express conflicted feelings in a conversation and in an open dialogue and feel safe about it. Because I feel like we're coming out of a time where a lot of people just never expressed, they might have thought the things that Aaron Rodgers is articulating here, but they never felt like they were safe to express it. So I think it's almost a positive thing that at least he feels like he can go on and say, listen, I went to Young Life growing up and I loved it. It meant a lot to me. The teachings of Christ meant a lot, but I don't know if I consider myself a Christian anymore because I have these ideas. At least he's able to talk about it. At least he's able to have the conversation, because I feel like it's more destructive when people have to keep this in. John Mark, what's your take on, kind of Rodgers expressing these conflicted ideas about how he grew up?
Man, I think people need to be free to grow. Like we tend to think like, or say we, but I feel like we tend to take people for where they are in the moment and be like, this is who you are, but also like if you grow up in the faith, and I don't want to push anyone off a cliff here, because I definitely consider myself a Christian. Like I like being a Christian, I'm not conflicted about being a Christian, but over the years, that definition has changed for me a little bit, and where like I've realized my Christianity is rooted in practice a lot. I guess what I'm saying is like the way I think about the faith changes a lot. Like it comes and goes, but my practices are where I try and root myself, loving my neighbor. You know what I mean? The practices of the faith. So like I realized a while back, like if you're born in a Christian home, and I got to be careful here because I don't want to push anyone over a ledge, but I realized at a point is like, I didn't choose Christianity. Christianity chose me. And so there's a point where if you don't consider the other options, have you actually chosen your path? And so people like, I had a point in my life when I had to walk through all of those questions about what I believed, and I came out different on the other side, but I realized like it was someone else's faith that I had before that, so people need the opportunity to have their own faith. And if they just profess the things they've heard their entire lives and never give themselves opportunity to actually consider what they believe, then are you a believer? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it sound ridiculous?
No, I think
No,
we talk
not at
about,
all.
I think we like to use language like spiritual journey, but we in practice don't really encourage a journey. We want you to stay in the same place for most of your life, especially if you grew up in certain circles. The idea of actually moving forward or changing, and maybe the journey is a circle for some people. Maybe it's a squiggly line. I mean, who knows? That can look very different for a lot of people. But this thing where there's a lot of criticism anytime somebody moves or changes or grows or develops seems very contrary to the human experience, which is extremely there's no growth plan for how people's minds and spirits operate.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it's fear and tribalism. It's like, oh, you're leaving the club. All right. Well, we don't want you to. We don't like it when you leave the club.
Yeah.
But it has a lot less to do with actual spirituality, actual Christianity, in my mind.
Yeah.
And so people aren't really getting angry about his faith. They're getting angry about the fact that he's saying he's not part of their club anymore, or they view him as not part of their club, and they don't like it. And I get that. But I don't think it's the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's especially a problem. Well, maybe not, but maybe it's just because of who I follow. But I feel like, particularly in the world of like sports celebrities, that club is really important. Like it seems like, and I feel like more so than people in culture, because like let's say someone's a writer or an artist or a celebrity or an actor, they're expected to take nuanced approach to things, right? I mean, that's kind of the nature of modern celebrity, is they're communicators, whether they communicate through art or music or social media. But an athlete, they're known through performance, right? And people want to view those types of celebrities through the lens of very singular dimensions. And it's whenever there's like sort of like a new Tebow, and that's nothing against Tebow. I think he's a great dude or whatever, but someone who is that kind of athlete celebrity who wears their faith on their sleeves in a certain sort of outspoken way, it does get very tribalistic. And to have someone like an Aaron Rodgers express these real conflicted ideas, it really puts a spotlight on, I think, that aspect, John Mark, of like, well, you're either with us for against us, or else look, now the atheists are claiming you. What's going on here? Yeah. And it's like, maybe we should just give a little grace here. Yeah. Like maybe let humans, like, how much do we trust God? Do we trust God enough that his grace will abound, that eventually, that he won't let someone stray too far, or are we willing to pray for conviction of the Holy Spirit? Like, there's just a lot that goes into this, but I do think the tribalism thing is a really interesting and kind of concerning aspect of it.
Well, a guy like him isn't just part of the club; like, he's viewed as like top tier,
a team leader.
Yeah. He's a team leader, so all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh, we got this guy. This guy's ours. And then when he's not, it's like, offensive and hurtful to people in ways they probably don't understand, because they've given so much of themselves to professional sports and to these people that they may not realize are sort of their leaders, or
legitimizers, right? Like it makes you feel legitimate because you have somebody in the public eye who's also on your team.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because at the end of the day, like I think too, we assign more like credibility to an athlete, even though, like, look, Aaron Rodgers is a dude in his mid 30s. Okay. Yeah. He happens to play football for his living, but how many 5-year-olds or 36-year-olds do you know that if you were to sit down with them and be like, hey, what are your questions about faith? They would probably talk in a similar way as he is, he just happens to be Aaron Rodgers, Yeah.
Like, hey, how does the universe work exactly? Like, how does the fabric of time
what happens
work?
when we die, Aaron Rodgers?
I know, you're a great football player. Can you tell me about the fabric of space, time, and the universe, and what happens for eternity? Poor guy.
Aaron Rodgers, you went to the NFC Championship this year. Why don't you tell us how a loving God allows bad things to happen to good people? Go. Like I said, you can clearly complete a 50-yard pass. Why can't you answer this simple question?
Just me in the back of the post-game interview with him. Just be like, yeah, Mr. Rodgers, Tyler Huckabee, Relevant Magazine here. I have a couple questions.
It's really not fair. And being in I don't want to say I'm in his situation at all, but being in a little bit of a public type of situation, like people ask you all those questions. I'm like, I write songs. Like, how am I supposed to know?
Oh my God.
You know, like you like my songs. That doesn't mean I know the way the universe operates.
Yeah.
So people will ask you those questions.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of not changing lanes a ton here with this next one, number 3 this week, Timbaland opens up about how God saved him from addiction. Okay, so Timbaland, his real name is Tim Mosley. I said this on the Daily yesterday. If there's a Mount Rushmore of American pop producers, Timbaland's probably on it. He's worked with Tupac, Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, Snoop Dogg, Janet Jackson, Jay-Z, Beck, Drake, Alicia Keys, Coldplay, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Hudson, Kanye, Madonna, Pharrell, Chris Cornell, Justin Timberlake, and we could go on. He most recently collaborated with King & Country and Echo Smith for that remix of God Only Knows. So he recently opened up to Men's Health about how God helped save his life. He explained how after a root canal and an old injury flared up, he developed an addiction to strong prescription painkillers. And he soon began to use these to deal with stress in his personal life. He said, it put me in a great feeling of not caring, of just being free. I'm like traveling, doing shows, popping, I'm having fun, just being ignorant. However, one night after his health began to decline, he says he had a dream that caused him to seek God's help. He said, I had a dream that death was near. I saw myself with a white face. So his pastor is T.D. Jakes. He talked to him and said, this was the path chosen for me. God was rebuilding my character. He said that with God's help and the help of his family, he was able to wean himself off the pills. So he said, it was one of the toughest things I've been through. The only thing that got me through it were my kids, my girl, the help of God, keeping my mind still. Now he's dedicated himself to living healthy, and he has a renewed reliance on faith. He says, God has me under construction, which I'm still under. I don't feel like I'm complete, and I don't ever want to feel like I'm complete because my mind would probably get idle. God needed me to be clear so I could see what is needed, not what I want. So that was an interesting, that's not something I would have expected from what I know of Timbaland's public life.
Yeah. And I like what he says there. And I mentioned this to you on Daily. I feel like this is refreshing too, because again, kind of going back to John Mark, you're kind of like the tribalism analogy. Someone like Timbaland, I don't think a lot of people associate with someone who's, going to be out there talking about faith and particularly God's power to help transform someone, especially someone dealing with like a problem as severe as painkiller addiction. But for him to kind of say, I'm under construction still. I'm not complete. I don't ever want to feel complete. I don't feel like is like the church answer, where, someone who might be a more seasoned Christian be like, yeah, God delivered me from that. I'm healed. I'm better. I'm out on the other side. Where I like Timberland's approach of like, hey, this is a work in progress here. Like I might be out from under, this certain challenge, but, God is still working on me. I thought that was a really fascinating, encouraging interview, especially given his massive platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for digging that one up, Jesse, too. That was a find on your part. And that's really interesting. It's a super interesting story.
And John Mark, where would you put Timbaland on sort of that range of modern music producers in terms of his like influence still?
He's definitely, I don't know what his current influence, I don't know how to gauge his current influence because I'm not really sure what he's worked on the past few years, but over the past like 10, 15, 20 years, he's worked with the greatest, and some of my favorite records were produced by him. And super innovative too, and his approach to making music. And I've seen some of his masterclass stuff. I mean, he's definitely like on the top. And I feel like if he wanted to be, he could be on the top again if he's not already with whoever he's working with. That's the interesting thing about producers is you don't always know. Sometimes you hear a song and I'll be like, I think that was, Pharrell. Or I think that was Timbaland, but you don't really always know because you don't have liner notes, on the...
They don't use like a producer tag like people do now.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like Timberland.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise I made this. It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
Hey guys, don't forget, just yell my name at some point, at any point.
Make sure to yell my name. I need you to yell my name.
I think that really of all the people, I mean, he built a lot of careers, but Justin Timberlake especially owes Timbaland a debt because nobody was going to take Justin seriously coming out of NSYNC, and Timbaland legitimized. Timbaland gave him the credit. I don't think Future Sex Loves It would have gone over with any sort of the influence that it had if he had gotten Timbaland on board.
No, those records are Timbaland records. Like they are.
Yeah.
I've even seen Timbaland out on tour with Justin Timberlake.
Oh wow!
Like Justin for one tour actually brought Timbaland out.
Did you actually take his masterclass?
I haven't taken the masterclass. I've previewed it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to because it's like there's a lot of content on the masterclass. It's hard to get to it all. Yeah. But it's good.
And they have like, I don't know, this is a side conversation. I always wonder what master classes, how their business model shakes out. Because how much are you, they're getting like Timberland and like Martin Scorsese and like the biggest names, Aaron Sorkin on screenwriting. It's insane. Anna Wintour is on it. Like, it's crazy the level of people they pull in.
They pull in. I mean, the best of the best is what they say. It's a masterclass.
I will be doing one on home brewing with giant buckets in your garage. Very unsanitary, very off the grid. It'll be my own. You have to go to your own dark web site to find it, and pay me in cryptocurrency, and I will tell you how to stir those vats.
Okay, this is a spicy one. Coming in number 2 this week, Hank Azaria will no longer voice Apu on The Simpsons. So, actor Hank Azaria told Slash Film he will no longer be voicing the controversial character Apu on The Simpsons. Azaria is white, and he uses an exaggerated accent as Apu, who is Indian, on The Simpsons. Azaria told the outlet, "We all made the decision together. We all agreed on it. We all feel like it's the right thing and feel good about it." So Hank Azaria voices several of the series' character. It's not really clear if Apu is going to continue to appear on the show or if Azaria is just going to stop voicing him. His work came under scrutiny following the release of the film The Problem with Apu from comedian Hari Kondabolu, which examined the problematic nature of pop culture stereotypes. On Twitter, Kondabolu discussed the move and says that he hopes that Apu will continue to appear on the show. He said, "If Hank Azaria is indeed no longer doing the voice of Apu, I do hope they keep the character and let a very talented writing staff do something interesting with him. If not to better the show, then to at least spare me some death threats. My documentary, The Problem with Apu, was not made to get rid of a dated cartoon character, but to discuss race, representation, and my community, which I love very much. It was also about how you can love something like The Simpsons and still be critical about aspects of it, like Apu." So that was I don't know. I mean, I think nobody's arguing that this move wasn't long overdue, right? Like, this needed to happen years ago, if it ever should have happened at all.
I thought it happened like 2 years ago when this was a topic of conversation. Do y'all remember? Y'all talked about it a while back.
But it didn't happen. There were huge calls for it. And The Simpsons doubled down, said we're not changing.
That's wild.
And that's, to me, honestly, one of the most interesting aspects of this is the way that this sort of dialogue around what is like an interesting kind of, like how an institution like The Simpsons could evolve in such a way where they could still be doing something that problematic that everyone just kind of ignores. And then a film comes along and offer, and it's not like outrage cancel culture in this case. It's kind of a thoughtful documentary by a comedian who's thought about this issue a lot and really wrestles with the nature of it and challenges The Simpsons to do better. In response, it took The Simpsons a while, but at least they're taking time to formulate a response that isn't defensive. It's one of, okay, maybe it is time to change and evolve. I think that's kind of one of the interesting aspects of this. Like, there certainly is toxic fan culture, and The Simpsons are not immune from that. And I think what the Harry, the comedian, expressed there of getting death threats from Simpsons fans is horrible. And I think But the great thing, the way that this dialogue largely transpired was between someone who was like a thoughtful cultural critic engaging the idea with the documentary and the Simpsons production team, which has now decided to make this move. And honestly, kind of both parties doing their best to stay above the fray of that toxic fan culture, which honestly gets offended by anything. And that's not just with the Simpsons. I mean, you see it with, Marvel and Disney and Star Wars. That's really the toxic element of this. I think allowing artists to evolve when times evolve is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that what he said here in response to this too, because the easy move for the Simpsons, or I guess the easiest response would be, okay, no Apu anymore on The Simpsons. And I hope that's not the case, because people want representation. People want to see diversity in their pop culture materials. You just got to do the extra work, which isn't even that much extra work, but it doesn't happen very often, of making sure that those things are handled respectfully, and that those people and cultures are handled by people who actually represent them. And that is not, Simpsons is not unique in not doing that for a long time. And I hope that they listen to what Hari was actually saying here, instead of just because he wasn't trying to get it canceled. He was asking it to be better. And there is a difference. Yeah. And I think those two are often conflated.
Yeah. John Mark, a lot of Christians grew up in either pro or anti-Simpsons homes. Were you permitted to watch that heathen show as a kid?
I was not originally permitted to watch The Simpsons, but like many things, we pushed through and we prevailed. I think my parents' issue with The Simpsons, which is really interesting, because The Simpsons make fun of everything. Like no one is sort of safe from this. It's not quite South Park, you know what I mean? But at the same time, and my parents hated how they made, Christians look stupid, and they made the father of the family, look stupid. And I was like, they make everyone look stupid. But going back to the Abu thing, though, I also was like one of like a million white kids going to school. And I had friends who were, Asian and Indian. They didn't have other kids who looked like them. So, like they were singled out at school, so it was different. Like in one sense, I think like, well, they make fun of everyone. Like let's make fun of everyone together. But at the same time, some people are having a more difficult time than others,
Yeah, like,
exactly. And I don't know. But my parents felt similarly. They didn't like The Simpsons because they thought Christians were misrepresented in The Simpsons.
And that's interesting to me, because I always felt like, I mean, maybe on the surface, there were certain episodes that really lampooned parts of Christian culture. But when you look at, I feel like if you watch the show objectively, especially over a few years and few seasons, I actually feel like they're pretty kind to Christians. I actually feel like Christians frequently come out looking, like when you look at like Ned Flanders, who obviously, the joke is he's this big dork, but he's honestly, throughout the series, the thing that makes Flanders is his faith, is his outspoken devotion to Christianity, right? Like, he's the perfect name. The joke is he's too perfect and too nice because of his faith. But every time you watch him, he always comes out of like, Homer's always the big dumb jerk and Flanders is always the great guy, like totally. I feel like he is, you could do a hot take of the most like flattering depictions of Christianity in television, and I would make the case that Ned Flanders could go on the top of that list, because he's an honorable, good dude. That he's a little annoying, but like he's very an admirable character. Huck, who do you think is the best fictional representation of a Christian on TV?
That's an interesting question. I think I have an answer, and it's going to be a very Tyler answer. I think that the Ned Flanders criticism came from that like era of 90s man Christianity, where they wanted their depictions to be like William Wallace and Maximus and Gladiator. Like it wasn't enough to be nice, because there was even criticism that Mr. Rodgers was too nice and was giving Christians a bad name because he was so kind, which is the dumbest critique you could level at somebody like, we're mad because our representation in culture is that everybody just thinks we're nice guys. Christians have really fixed that representation in the past couple of years here. I would say there's been maybe an overcorrection on that. But Jesse, I do love the faith conversations that they had on that Netflix Daredevil show, the Marvel series, where he was portrayed as a Catholic and really a very bad Catholic, but they were very open about him being a bad Catholic. And I live for the scenes with him dragging his body in after fighting off like magic ninjas or whatever to talk to a priest about his own doubts about hell or why he feels like God has forgotten him. That's been my, I don't know about best of all time, but my favorite and most theologically rewarding in recent years conversations about God from a Christian perspective came from that show.
Yeah. That's interesting because I feel like the juxtaposition between like Angela from The Office, especially early season Angela, where she's looked at as like the mean Christian prude. Obviously, her character on The Office developed a lot over time, and she became. You could see there's a lot more under the surface of what's making her tick than just being like an old Christian prude. But the juxtaposition between someone like her and like a Flanders or the Daredevil character, I feel like is pretty great because it shows like, on one hand, it is easy to lampoon kind of just these, legalistic prudes, but it's another thing to look at like someone who is genuinely trying to live for faith. It might annoy some people, but ultimately they're good people. John Mark, can you think of any positive or interesting representations of Christians like in a fictionalized setting that has been, somewhat positive?
Yeah, I actually, and this is like not nearly as cool as Daredevil, but the husband in Madam Secretary, what is his name on the show? But
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know that.
I don't watch it. I don't watch it.
My wife and I really liked it for a while. I think at a point it got a little too teachy, like, okay. A little too
like
educational.
Government lessons.
A little too educational, but as a whole, we really enjoyed it. And I liked him. He's a theology teacher and he's a real person. He deals with his, life, and they talk about faith, and I was like, oh, this is rare that they're making the Christian guy a little bit of a hero here. I was like, this is really interesting. I always liked him.
This is interesting. Yeah. We should ask. Yeah. We should toss this one to readers. I'd be interested to hear other people's take, because I'm thinking of more as I'm weighing it. Jesse, do you have one? Is Flanders your pick?
If Flanders is probably my pick. I was never like a Seventh Heaven person, but I always heard that they had decent depictions of kind of thoughtful, conflicted Christian characters at times. But I never really
standards, watched. Like it was a very like it was a teen soap, but it was a better than average teen soap.
In terms of like, I think my favorite. Well, I'll talk about tribalism, but someone who I think represents Christianity well on television regularly, and this isn't fictional, but I'm always intrigued is Colbert. Like, I love the way that he engages faith conversations. Sure. Like, it's not so much that like, oh, it's another one for our team. It's more of like, oh, he's someone that I feel like will graciously approach the topic of beliefs, faith, and religion with people from across the spectrum of worldviews in a way that I always find interesting. And I appreciate his perspective. But I also just appreciate the way that he's able to dialogue in a way that's so graceful, because people know that he himself is very devout in his belief system. I always enjoy his conversations about faith, even though obviously he's a real human,
Speaking of conversations about faith, I do love this one. Number one, Kim Kardashian West's next reality TV project is about justice reform. So it was announced that Kim Kardashian West, will be hosting a new documentary for the Oxygen Network called Kim Kardashian West, The Justice Project, that looks at 4 different cases and her efforts to advocate for individuals behind bars. As the AP notes, the cases are complicated and include one involving a victim of sex trafficking, as well as one about a woman who is in prison after murdering a family member who had molested her. Kim told the outlet, once you hear the circumstances that led them to make those decisions, your heart would completely open up. I hope that this is a step to opening up people's hearts and minds, and then hopefully they can help with changing some actual laws that really do have to be changed. Criminal justice reform has become a passion of the reality TV mogul. Her advocacy on behalf of nonviolent drug offender Alice Marie Johnson led to the great-grandmother being granted clemency by President Trump. She's also pursuing a law degree. According to the AP, she just wrapped her first year as an apprentice, and if she passes a coming exam, will continue to be a law student in California for 3 years before taking the bar. Here is a clip from the trailer.
There is a mass incarceration problem in the United States.
Life plus 25 years of first-time nonviolent offenders.
Seeing something that I felt was not fair.
Kim went to war for me.
I just said, use me. I want to help her. I started to get letters hearing the circumstances of their lives.
Beginning at the age of 5.
I was molested by my mom's husband.
My mother murdered my father.
The truth was much, much sadder. Sending a child to prison who had never had a chance.
I don't know about you guys, but after some of the work that Kim has done over the last few years, I take back every mean thing I ever said about her. I think this is, I really do. I mean that sincerely. This is the
How many
best.
mean things did you say?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it was Kim Kardashian. We all said mean things about Kim Kardashian, but I really do. And as my opinions of her husband have gotten much more, let's say, complicated, my opinion of her, my estimation of her has really, really grown, because I really can't think of a better way to use your platform, which she has maybe one of the top 3 or 4 biggest of in the world, for more good than to advocate for not just individual people, but for actual systemic change of the laws themselves, and doing the work of studying the actual laws behind this, not just giving, this isn't just a Twitter hashtag. This is her really going to bat and trying to make sure that she's prepared to do this the right way. Couldn't be more impressed.
I agree, man. What a fantastic example. And I think at some point, like, I'm going to do a hypothetical thing where we fast forward 50 years into the future, right? Mm-hmm. And Hollywood is casting a Kim Kardashian biopic, and it's going to be like in the vein of some of these, like those like great like Clint Eastwood biopics from a few years ago, like what was the one with the pilot, the Aviator, and like I think she's going to be looked back at as this really interesting cultural figure who, was able to sort of personify a lot of larger things in culture, and sometimes unfortunate and sometimes fortunate ways, right? Like, her father obviously was a lawyer in the O.J. Simpson trial. She came to fame, initially because of a leaked sex tape, a celebrity sex tape. She became a reality TV mogul. She became an Instagram influencer. She married Kanye West, this, prolific artist. Her life followed this really interesting trajectory that in a lot of ways was running parallel with a lot of larger conversations that were happening in pop culture. But for her to do this turn to say, okay, now that I've acquired all of these people's opinions about me, all of this wealth, all of this influence, I'm going to turn my attention to people who are essentially forgotten. This woman, Alice Marie Johnson, had been in prison and was going to be in prison for a long time. And when you read about her drug offense, she was basically sort of a scapegoat and was a victim of these antiquated drug laws. But Kim Kardashian took her platform as this really kind of controversial, interesting person that is on the top of everyone's mind to doing things that affect the lives of people that are forgotten. And, this woman who's a great grandmother is now out free. And there might be other people who are soon going to be free from their unjust prison sentences because she decided to take the time and do something about it. I think it's incredible. I love the story. And like I said, I do think in the future, people are going to look back at her in a really interesting way.
My thoughts exactly. She represented a turning point in a lot of big ways. Not all of them positive for sure, but you could do a lot worse than using a platform that you've built. You honestly couldn't do much better.
Yeah, John Mark, do you have any Kardashian opinions?
I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think her story arc is really interesting, and it's unexpected, and it's super beautiful to see what she's doing. You know, like man, I don't have any amazing or controversial thoughts about it. I just think it's really inspiring. Makes me want to do. You know, it makes me want to live my life better. There's things I can do. Right?
It is kind of sad we're all. Yeah, it's kind of sad we're all three of us like, man, Kim Kardashian's really challenging us to be better.
Really
exactly.
She really figured it out.
I remember thinking
she cracked it.
I remember thinking not long ago, I just wish I could wipe the Kardashian shadow from my news feed. Like, I don't care who's wearing what or where they went or what they said. Like, I literally don't care. All of a sudden to being like, oh, okay, I actually kind of care now. You know? Because I just don't care who's the beautifulest. It just doesn't. It's just wasting a lot of space in my news feed.
It's true. It is true. But man, it also not that we have to dig into this big kind of esoteric conversation, but it also is like, well, is the trade-off, did she have to create this platform and enable to stand on it and use it for good? Like, that's a whole nother conversation of like, you know, was ultimately she working for, you know, could you make a case that, you know, people that have these massive platforms that are then able to kind of turn and help people, it's sort of, you know, this like working for this sort of greater good, because if she didn't have the platform that she had, she couldn't have the impact that she had. So it is sort of like an interesting arc that I feel like I do feel like people underrate her greatly in her ability as like just as a thoughtful person and a celebrity and now an activist. I think she's a super interesting person.
Yeah, so cut it out.
I would love it if she passes the bar and she's a lawyer and she's Kim Kardashian West Esquire. That would be pretty amazing. I imagine those legal skills come in handy when you're that famous too.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, exactly. You represent yourself. Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for this week's.
It's the high list. It's sizzling.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Fernando Meirelles will join us. You're listening to Cop Car by Mitski. So, Fernando Meirelles is a filmmaker best known from movies including City of God, The Constant Gardener, and most recently, The Two Popes, which is on Netflix and got nominated for 3 different Oscars. The film explores the complex real-life relationship between Pope Francis and Pope Benedict in a period of transition for the Catholic Church. I recently got to speak to Fernando about this film and why its themes are so resonant for religious and non-religious audiences alike. This was a really great conversation. I'm a huge fan of his, not just The Two Popes, but City of God and Constant Gardener are both just such excellent movies, and was really excited that they were willing to, he talked to us. He's a director who is from Brazil and had been evidently interested in the story for a long time, which is really what I wanted to know first is why he has a lot of projects. What was it about this story now in 2019 at the time that really drew him to this project? And he explained that it was really been building for quite a while.
Yeah, I was invited actually in 2015. The producer Dan Lean asked me if I was interested in making a film on the Pope. At that time, there was no script. He just wanted we would develop the script together. And I said yes, because I like the Pope very much. I think he's a very important voice in the world today. I like his political agenda. I'm not religious, but I think he's really very interesting. He has interesting positions about the world today. Anyway, I said, yes, I like him. Let's explore it. But at the time, I was starting to work on the opening of the Olympics in Rio, which I directed with 2 friends. So I couldn't say, well, I'll be busy till the end of 2016. So So when the Olympics finished, he called me back and said, during this period, I found a play and I asked the writer to adapt his own play, and he sent me the script. And there was this surprise. I mean, I was thinking about a film on Pope Francis, and there was Pope Benedict came with like the package, you know. And but until 4 months ago, the film was called The Pope. And it was really a film much more on Pope Francis. Then we watched it, and there was a sort of balance between both of them. So we changed the name to The Two Popes.
So Fernando is not a religious person, as he stressed to me a number of times, but he was still very interested in this movie. And so I wanted to know what it was about the person of Pope Francis that really drew him to this project, and draws so many people, Catholic and not Catholic, and not even necessarily religious alike, what it is about Pope Francis's character that makes him such a compelling figure. And he had some very interesting stories, including an anecdote about the Pope that I had not heard.
Well, he's very charming personally. He has this warmth and a good sense of humor, which I learned. It's something new. I mean, he's not a friendly guy. I mean, he wasn't a friendly guy. Nobody likes him in Argentina. People who knew him before, everybody would say that he was very unpleasant. He was the man that would never smile, and very, yeah. We worked with one of his ex-seminarists that lived with him for 8 years in the seminar where he was the head, called Colégio Máximo. Well, actually, we shot there. When you see the scenes at the seminar, it's exactly where he worked. Anyway, this guy Otavio said he couldn't be in front of him. He said this quote: "I hated him." But because he was so hard. And then on the day he became Pope, he said, I saw that man on the balcony saying, Buonasera, with that smile. I said, I don't know this man. First time I see him smiling. And he said it was a different man. What could have happened? And so I asked him, what happened? He said, well, I'm a faithful guy. I believe that in the moment when he was elected, the Holy Spirit changed him.
That's such an interesting story, because I feel like Pope Francis is this figure who we all sort of have these ideas about, particularly when he took over from Benedict, who Benedict was looked at as a controversial figure, very scholarly, not the most compassionate, and, social.
Certainly not charismatic. Not a.
And then Francis comes along and seems like this, generational kind of religious figure who just has this kind of air about him that makes people feel very welcomed and received and loved. It's so crazy that isn't how a lot of people who knew him identified his personality.
His friends, yeah, even his good friends said they called him the man who never smiled. That's like it's so funny, and it's a very interesting, just from a religious a portrait of how God can move. One thing I did that I found kind of interesting about this, and I think I've discussed this maybe even on this podcast before, is that the Two Popes is a very funny movie. It has kind of a buddy comedy flavor to it when you're watching it. And Fernando even mentioned this in my discussion with him, that the marketing was very conventional and makes it look much stuffier and more highbrow than it actually is. So I asked him about the humor, and he said that when he first got the script, it actually was quite dry. And he explained the process of him really taking the reins to try to make it a little more comedic.
Tyler, did you feel like that translated in the film? Did you feel like it has a pretty breezy? Because I've heard it compared to like a buddy comedy.
I think I would call it a buddy comedy. And as much as like an Oscar bait type movie could be a buddy comedy, it's surprisingly funny and a much easier, more engaging watch than you would think. Even I love Constant Gardener and City of God, but I wouldn't call either of them particularly funny. This movie shows that he really does have some good comedic sensibilities to him. It's quite funny. Jesse, you had mentioned earlier that Pope Benedict, while he was the Pope, was viewed as a much gruffer, more austere person, and I think that's quite true. And I asked him about that because this movie doesn't really, it portrays him as being aware of that stereotype, but it also delivers a much more nuanced portrait of Pope Benedict than I think we're used to getting, or than we even got from the press during the time that he was Pope. And it was really interesting. Fernando said that when he approached this movie, he's, to use his phrase, he saw it being about Pope Francis as the good guy and Pope Benedict as the bad guy. But the more research they did, the more they realized that wasn't really a fair reading of what their actual relationship was actually like. And he explained why the movie went from being called The Pope, which is what the original title was, to The Two Popes, which is what we ended up with.
I read the script. It was very intelligent dialogue, but at the same time quite dry and very dense. So I thought I would have to find a way to make the film, the conversation, watchable or engaging. And what I thought was that the film should be very intimate and very personal. That would engage people. I remember watching The Queen. Remember the film, Stephen Frears? I remember watching it, and what I thought was fascinating was just seeing the Queen as a normal lady. You know, she wasn't. Sometimes you see the person behind the crown. So I thought I would do the same thing. I wanted to make a film on two men who disagree on almost everything, and they have to find a common ground, and not a film on a pope discussing with a cardinal. And just changing this perspective, the whole thing changes. The film is very intimate, very simple. All the solutions for the film are intentionally very simple. It looks like everyday life. The camera is very close to them, so you see the person. And anyway, that was much. And you mentioned the humor. And during the process of preparing the film, it took 8 months between having the script and shooting the film. And in this period, I start adding jokes and changing some scenes and trying to bring lightness to the story.
That was Fernando Meirelles. Really did enjoy that conversation. Hope you get a chance to check out The Two Popes on Netflix before the Oscars. We're going to take a quick break.
Ride, run the ride. Leave them good old boys behind. You know them ones that they got nowhere to hide. Ride, run the ride.
In 2 Timothy 2:15, Paul was passing the baton of ministry to the next generation of church leaders, and he said, "Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth." That's why 215 exists. 215 is a 2-year ministry residency at Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. It's designed for future leaders who are called to full-time vocational ministry and want to gain practical experience doing ministry in a strong church. We believe that the best way to get equipped for a lifetime of impactful ministry is by doing ministry firsthand in a healthy context, surrounded by people pouring into you, helping you develop, and investing in your spiritual health. If you feel called to ministry and are looking for your next step, we are now accepting applications for our next class of residents. Connect with us and apply at southeastchristian.org/residency. Again, that's southeastchristian.org/residency.
You're listening to Rumbling by Black Lips. Well, hey, this was super fun. Jesse, we had we had a break in a case that we've been teasing.
That's right.
We can't get into it right now. We don't have time.
We can't. So John Mark last week on the show, I don't know if you saw, Kevin Max challenged people to submit who would his Twitter followers cast in a biopic about the DC Talk story. So we had some fun with that. We talked about it. A worthy question that we could fill hours of time podcasting about. But we asked users to cast their own CCM movies, and we read them. It was a whole fun thing. But in one of the responses, there was a passing reference to Sandy Patty, and out of nowhere, a Twitter account of the Indiana Pizza Club jumped into the mentions and unsolicited and simply accused Sandy Patty of destroying the economy of the town of Anderson, Indiana, with no explanation of how she did such a thing.
That's not extrapolation. That is an exact quote. Sandy Patty destroyed the economy of Anderson, Indiana. Full tweet.
And then they were out. And I was like, who is this Indiana Pizza Club? And John Mark, it is a pizza club in Indiana. The only thing they talk about is Sandy Patty's economic destruction of this town and pizza in the state of Indiana. So we started diving down this rabbit hole. They also somehow think she's connected to the JFK assassination,
That's right, yes.
I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
They go deep. But and this is a pizza club with a lot of people talking about pizza. It's very odd that they've jumped into this. So Tyler and I talked to an Anderson local who not only dated Sandy Patty's nephew and gave us some insight, but also lived directly above the mayor's son in Anderson, Indiana. You can't get closer to the center of the core of this mystery than Tyler and I've gotten. But here's the thing: we're running long today. it's been a long show, so we're going to bring you the update in our Indiana Pizza Club investigation next week.
And we will be pursuing this potentially Chandler, we might need you to put a jingle together because this could become a regular this rabbit hole.
What kind of vibe are we thinking, though? That's the question.
Like a true crime.
Well, okay.
I've been on the phone. I've been trying to get up with our friends over at Serial for a new season, and it has been silence.
Whole season on this, yeah. All right.
I think we could do it. Jesse had the idea of calling it Pattygate. I like it. I think that works.
I was going to go Pizzagate. At first, it was Pizzagate, but then I was like,
that's taken.
We go Pattygate.
But Pattygate because we do have, and Jesse, I've even had some more breaks since last night in my investigation.
I will say this: who else jumped in? Beth Moore jumped in the mentions last night
Beth
with
Moore
her own
is on
thoughts.
the beat.
The rabbit hole is just getting deeper, but we're going to bring this whole thing next week. We don't have. It should be a special episode, really.
It's not really a Friday material either. This is crime. This is stakes. This is economic depression. That's not the vibe of this show.
The death of a Midwestern town, a CCM star, a mysterious pizza club. This is not stuff that you just absorb over the weekend. Yeah. This is you need a whole week to let this settle in.
We'll go back. So we will come back to that with our special guest, our insider, our boots on the ground there in Anderson, Indiana. We'll bring that.
She lived above the son of the mayor. People, she knows what's happening. She heard things through the walls. Okay, she dated Sandy Patty's nephew briefly, and they are on good terms. So those are things that we know.
She DM'd me fresh information this very morning, but I'm not going to. I'm sitting on it.
I'm sitting
on it.
Yeah,
I'm sitting on it. Yeah. So we will wrap it up. Hey, many thanks to Fernando Meirelles. The Two Popes is on Netflix now. If you're a completionist like I am, you like to see all the Oscar noms before the actual ceremony, you can knock this one out over the weekend. It's on Netflix. It's a great movie. I encourage. I think anybody listening to this show, anybody a part of this show, would really enjoy that movie. Also, we got to say thanks to our friend John Mark. John Mark, man, it's always so fun to have you on. You're a fish to water on this podcast.
Bring the heat every time. You bring the heat.
I do my best. Thank you, guys.
Good luck with the album rollout and get ready for the tour, man. I know it's going to be kind of a stressful time, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
John Mark, real quick, what's the best way? Should people follow you on Instagram, Twitter? What's the best way to get updates about the tour and new stuff with the album?
I am the most active on Instagram, but the email list is the best. So,
all right,
people miss stuff on Instagram if you haven't realized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Instagram doesn't show you everything, but I'm most active.
I don't think I'm aware of that.
Yeah. But you will never miss anything if you sign up for the email list. In fact, you can go right now, and if you sign up right now, I will send you the album for free on Valentine's Day, and I'll send you a brand new track right now for free if you go to my website. It's easy to do.
You won't even need to get the heart-shaped candy box. You got a new album.
Exactly. You got it covered. You got it covered.
Yeah. Giving the album away for free because I love it.
That's awesome, man.
Love it.
All right. Well, you heard him. All right. Well, I think with that, we are going to wrap it up. I'm Tyler Huckabee.
I'm Jay the String.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm John Mark.
Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Baby, you're all that help. You're making me more. Baby, you're making me more. Baby, you're making me more. Baby, you're making me more.
Thank you for listening to the Relevant Podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Check out other shows from the Relevant Podcast Network in the podcast section at relevantmagazine.com. And while you're there, browse exclusive podcast merchandise at our online store. Make sure to subscribe to Relevant Magazine. Info is available at relevantmagazine.com/subscribe.
Baby,
she dated Sandy Patty's nephew briefly, and they are on good terms.
Relevant Podcast Network.